What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets Central Podcast, episode 60, as we will be recapping the Mets versus Dodgers series as they take 2 out of 3. There's a series coming up against the White Sox, which we'll talk about that, even though it's going to be very brief and simple to say what they should do to the White Sox. But we got a lot to get into in this episode. So before we jump into everything, whether you're watching live or on replay, I ask that you please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, especially if you're Met fans or if you're hate watching. You can go ahead and subscribe either way. It's a fun time no matter what. Turn on your post notifications so you know when we upload or go live. If you're in the live chat, we will get to your comments, questions, everything throughout the episode. But there's going to be a lot to unpack here. So we're not going to be able to pull up comments every time immediately. We're not ignoring you. We're just trying to keep the conversation going. So, yeah, definitely a success in terms of the results of the Mets taking 2 out of 3. A painful game one. The last two games, improvement in terms of, at least with game two, a little bit more of an improvement with the offense. You still would probably like to see more. But how are we feeling after the Mets take 2 out of 3, where, again, probably a bit to be desired still in terms of the offense, but at least they get the job done?
Yeah, very happy that they take a series against one of the better teams in baseball in the LA Dodgers, and a team that, of course, the Mets lost to last year in the NLCS. And yeah, listen, I think it's basically like what you said. Still some stuff to be desired, obviously, with the offensive side, because I'm really, like I said, it was great to take 2 out of 3 and win this series. And overall, when you look at the three series of the toughest part of the schedule, where the Mets, of course, played series against the Yankees, Red Sox, and Dodgers, they went 4-5 against these teams, which is not great. I obviously would want to see a bit better. Obviously, the big part of that issue has been the offensive side, because again, the pitching has been the best thing about this team so far. And it's a big reason of why they're currently 32-21 right now. And, they're still a couple games back of the Phillies in terms of the NL East, chasing them for the NL East lead. But look, like I said, good to take 2 out of 3. In reality, a little disappointing, because when you look at how game one went down, and they made that nice little rally comeback in the ninth inning, but when you have so many chances to win that game in extra innings, and where all you need is one run and to drive that runner from second base for like 4 straight innings, it's disappointing that they lost that series. But they did get pretty good pitching contributions from both Peterson and Senga in game 2 and game 3 of the series. And it's again, like we were saying, the offense did just enough, but it was mainly the pitching that led them to the series win against the Dodgers. Now, I mean, like we're going to talk about later in the podcast, with the lighter portion of the schedule, the Mets have to now beat up on these teams and take advantage of this lightened schedule, because that's what good teams need to do. Take advantage of the poor schedule and, try and beat these better teams. So, yeah, like I said, nice to win a series, but a little disappointing, considering that in reality, they probably should have swept the Dodgers.
Yeah, it just like, yet again, just so many concerns with runners in scoring position. It's just the constant theme here. And I'm tired of saying that sentence, but it's just the reality of it. Like in game two, at least, there was a bit to be desired, but at least 4 for 11, it's like, okay, slight improvement, and they won. And especially because you got contributions from the top part of the order, which is something the Mets have not got as of lately. It's just, again, like, get the timely hits, because when you look at game three, it's like, all right, they won that game, but 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. Game one, 2 for 14, especially because of what you were mentioning, where you had the Manfred man on second base for as many innings as they did, and they were just not able to get that timely hit. So, just again, so unfortunate, because this has been the theme where it's like these losses are right in their grasp, but the losses are the same reason every time, where you chalk it up to the offense. Like, I would say maybe I could recall one game where I would chalk it up to the pitching, maybe the loss, and that was that loss in DC, that Sunday game. And that's really about it. Outside of that, it's just like every time it's the offense not getting that timely hit, which is something that we said, all right, this is a series where we want to see it improve, and it didn't. Especially, and the disappointing part to me, most of all, is especially game 3, where you're going against Landon Knack, who is a AAA pitcher. Like, he in all reality is a AAA guy. The numbers suggest it. When you watch him pitch, it suggests it as well. And for them to get one earned run against Landon Knack, a little disappointing. The Dodgers didn't even have their best arms going in that game as well. Disappointing. I mean, their bullpen is just completely depleted, and it's the most Mets thing, right? That they beat up on Tanner Scott, but then the Anthony Bondas of the world just light them up. And same with Landon Knack, like I mentioned. Because that's the thing, right? Like, I want to sit here and say, all right, I wanted them to win this series against the Dodgers because it's a measuring stick series. Prove to me you're worth more than I think, maybe at the moment. But it's still instead, it's just a lot to be desired, which has been the feeling that we've had, even though they've been winning baseball games, and it's not a good feeling. Is there room for improvement? Yes, but I mean, we're approaching June here, and it's the same problems.
I think the main thing that I took from this series, and again, like it depends how you look at it because it can be a good thing, but it's also a bad thing as well because mainly like, and this was more so through the first two games of the series. The Mets got a lot of their offensive contributions from the bottom of the lineup because when you take a look at game one, right? Brett Beatty hits that solo home run. Then when you look at the ninth inning rally, right? Jeff McNeil obviously hits that big time triple, and then Tyrone Taylor was the one that drove him in to top the game at 5. And then when you look at the second game, like sure again Juan Soto gets that big 2-run the big 2-run double to give the Mets the lead. But again, you have Brett Beatty who put the Mets up and cut the lead down to 2-1. Then he got another big RBI hit later in the game, I believe in the eighth inning or so. And then of course, when you get to the finale of the series, it was Pete Alonso that hit the 2-run home run, which I mean it was a hanging curveball by Landon Knack. So I mean that was just like basically just a hit me. It was a free home run basically that Landon Knack gave to Pete Alonso in that situation. So listen, it's nice to see the bottom of the order contribute. And that's something that we talked about a lot, especially earlier on the season when it was mainly the top three guys that was contributing to the offense, and basically the bottom of the offense was giving you nothing. But we do need to see the top of the lineup again start to contribute more, and it's more so it's like I like when the top of the order is contributing. I like when the bottom of the lineup is contributing, but it seems like there's never a part of the season so far where it's both of them are doing it at the same time, and it's like it's either one's doing it, one part of the lineup is doing it, and then the other part of the lineup will do it. And I mean, we saw Pete obviously hit that big home run, the 2-run home run in the last game of the series, but again, Lindor kind of had an off series. Soto again's been struggling. There were signs where he looked like he was going to get out of it, and I think there was a bit more positive signs out of Juan Soto this series, and I'm probably talking about where we saw the hustling aspect, especially in that last game where him hustling out a ground ball led to Alonso hitting that 2-run home run in the finale of this series. But we need to see a lot more. And again, like I said, it's more of can the top of the order do it with the bottom of the order doing it? And I think once you get the connection, and obviously I think a part of that will help. Like once you start to get maybe more reinforcements, like we see maybe Ronnie Mauricio gets that call eventually. Maybe it's a guy like Drew Gilbert, or maybe ultimately we have to wait till the trade deadline to where
Winker's also going to come back.
Winker will also come back. But like I said, you just hope it's relatively soon. But it's like again we bring up, it's like we keep saying okay, eventually they're going to break out, but it's like we're basically almost at June, so it's like when is it going to happen?
The problem that I have too, just with this conversation, is like you look at game number 1, right? You look at the Dodgers' top 3 in the order, which everyone was terrified of, and rightfully so. Even though they drew 3 walks, they went for a combined 1 for 13 in that game 1. But look at the rest of the lineup. I mean, Teoscar Hernandez goes 2 for 5, and everyone else getting a hit, and they still go 6 for 17 with runners in scoring position and rack up 7 runs. Why can't the Mets do that? Like, I know the bottom of the order produce, But why can't the Mets do that? Why can't they get the time we had 10? That's the other problem I have. Like, yes, the bottom of the order is giving production, which is great. Like, you need that, but it's still like not timely because in game number 3, if Starling Marte who pinch hits, gets ahead, steals a bag and gets picked off, negating what he did. Jeff McNeil gets a double at one point, but it's not with runners on base. It's just, again, I don't know what it is about runners at scoring position, because when you look at the box score of these games and you see that they get multi-hit games, especially game 2, with Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, Luis Torrens, Brett Beatty, all having multi-hit games, and then you still had Taylor who got a hit, Marte who got one. You should probably score more than 5 runs. You probably should. And the runners at scoring position numbers suggest that. But for whatever reason, it's round and around we go here. They just can't do it. But the Dodgers, I mean, the top of their order disappeared, and they got the contributions from the bottom of the order in that game 1. But thanks to the Mets' stellar pitching, at least, which, to shift to a positive front on this one, the pitching was absolutely brilliant, which we'll get into a deeper conversation about that later after we break down the games. But the biggest positive I have is this pitching staff continues to look good. I'm not even mad about game 1 that they allowed 7 runs, because the rain delay and then Jose Budo is just not effective. Brazoban, I'm not mad at him. He's been overworked lately, so I'm not even mad about that. But this pitching, again, continuing to prove that trust David Stearns. I mean, he could pick up the worst pitchers in baseball statistically, and they will find ways to come through. We'll talk more about David Peterson, especially, which he was the star of the series here for damn sure. But yeah, that's the biggest takeaway I have, is that top of the order for the Dodgers, outside of that Ohtani home run, they really didn't do much this series. They really didn't. And that, to me, is the most encouraging thing out of everything in this series.
Yeah, I mean, game 3 was probably the best game of the series for that top 3 of the order, just because Freddie Freeman got a couple hard hit balls against Senga. Obviously, Ohtani hit the leadoff home run. Mookie Betts wasn't great this series, but again, like, he's a very, very dangerous hitter, Mookie Betts, so you can't like take your eyes off him at all. And then of course, like, you see freaking Teoscar Hernandez, which that's a guy I wish the Mets brought him in the offseason, because the guy's just killing it statistically. And I mean, you see it every time because he comes up to the plate. Every time he makes contact with the ball, it's loud, it's hard, it's just he's driving it into the outfield in the air. So listen, it sucks that the Mets couldn't land him. Listen, I get why he wanted to go back to the Dodgers, because you just came off a World Series win, so I get it. It is what it is. Like, you just got to live with it. But I mean, yeah. But like I said, for the most part, this pitching staff kept this Dodgers lineup in check. I mean, even like for the first game, you mentioned Griffin Canning, for the short time he was out there, did a decent job. And then, I mean, pretty much the bullpen outside of Jose Budo, did their job, because I mean, even Max Kranick, right? And I get Kranick didn't look great in that first game of the series when he came in to relieve Griffin Canning after the long rain delay. But I mean, he was put into a tough situation, right? Because I believe that it was already first and second, and by the time he came out of that, because they called the game into a rain delay right in the middle of a Freddie Freeman at bat, and I believe the count was already 3-1,
It was 3-1, yeah.
It was 3-1. So you basically have no room to work with. And he walks Freeman. And then obviously, you load the bases, and then a couple base hits later, and, the Dodgers take a multi-run lead. But even then, Kranick wasn't great, but it's like you're putting him into such a tough situation. And then, I mean, the thing with Budo, right? And it's just, again, it's one of the reasons why eventually, like, we want him off the team, especially when guys like Brooks Raley eventually comes through and he becomes healthy, because it's the same thing with Budo, right? He gets the quick 2 outs, and it's like, just get one more out to get out of the inning, and then base it, and then the Dodgers eventually scored the 2 runs to take a 5-1 lead. And it's like, it's just frustrating with Budo. And again, it's like he should not be on this roster, especially if this team wants to make a deep run, because he has just not been reliable. And really, he hasn't been reliable throughout this whole year. So it's not like, like what we saw with Reed Garrett this year, where it's like he's really good. He's really good for a big chunk of the season, and then there's like a 2-week stretch where he's not sharp. But then we see him come back to form, especially, which Reed Garrett will talk about. He was clutching in this series So Budo eventually's got to go. I mean, Jose Castillo, which was another sneaky under the radar pickup by Stearns. I get that he's only made 2 appearances out of the bullpen so far, but he's been solid so far in his 2 appearances. And then again, Stanek was good this year. And then Cabrera, he pitched. Eventually, he was DFA'd. The big thing also, again, Edwin Diaz, he looks sharp. He looks like he's on form. The velo is back. The control is back. So that's a very good thing that this Mets bullpen needed. And then again, like you mentioned with Brosman, like the guy was overworked so much throughout this series where it's like, or not even the series, but even the past couple of series. So it's like you can't really get on Brosman that much. And then especially, because he came in the 13th inning. So, when your offense doesn't score for 4+ innings, especially when there's a guy on second base, it's like,
and he's the last resort.
You can't get mad at Brosman because eventually someone was going to break through, and it was the Dodgers. So it's like, it is what it is. But again, Reed Garrett comes in, pitches 2 innings with the guy on second. He doesn't allow any runs. So Garrett has looked very good, and especially it's nice to see him look a lot sharper, especially with his cutter command, because that was probably the main pitch that was giving him trouble throughout these last 2 weeks. Was he just didn't have much control of the cutter. So now that it looks like he's got that under control, he looks like the Reed Garrett that we saw from him at the start of the season. So nice to see. And then I mean, like we talked about on the post game, David Peterson was arguably the MVP of the series because after that first game where the bullpen was just completely shattered, you needed David Peterson to go out there and just shove and give you innings. And listen, they didn't even need to be the most quality innings. He just had to go out there and eat innings. But the fact that he went out there, he gave you 7 2/3 innings and only gave up 2 runs and shut down that top of the order against the Dodgers. I mean, I think he struck out Ohtani, what was it, 2 times, 3 times maybe?
Saw that, which we'll get into more of that.
He was just incredible. And then I mean, with Senga, I mean, listen, Senga wasn't the most sharpest, but he went out there, pitched a solid 5 1/3 innings, and he put the Mets in a position to win. So really, I mean, it's like what we've been saying about this pitching staff. This pitching staff just keeps giving the Mets the ability, or it puts them in the space to keep them to keep on winning games. So I have no complaints about the pitching staff so far throughout this series.
Yeah, the thing with Budo, I mean, it's just like he's a reliever McGill at this point. Gets the 2 outs and then can't get the final one. Also, are we sure Betts is down here isn't because he regrets being with the Dodgers and he misses being with the Red Sox? Like, are we sure it's not that? Because he's having a down year. I mean, he looked pretty sad to me. I don't know. He looked very upset. Something to keep an eye on there. I think the national media's got to get on that one. But, yeah, let's get to the game recaps just because there is still a lot to get into here, and we'll go into a deeper conversation with some of these things. But in game number 1, it was the longest game of our entire lives, thanks to the rain delay and everything. And then on top of that, watching the Knicks during that game, which was something else. But either way, Griffin Canning versus Clayton Kershaw, even though that really did not matter by the end of it because nothing really happened with those two on the mound. I mean, there was a deep fly ball for Will Smith where Nimmo robbed them of extra base hits there. Outside of that, traffic on the bases every now and then. Not much happening in the middle, though, of that 3rd inning where there was traffic on the bases from Griffin Canning, which we saw the weirdest thing before they went into that rain delay where so Conforto gets on with a single, Ohtani walks, and then I have never in my life seen this happen with the tag up where I didn't know the rule was when you touch the ball, you could tag up then and there when the fielder touches the ball. So it was bobbled there by Taylor, and they end up challenging it. They don't overturn the call, which makes sense given the rule. Then we go into the rain delay in the middle of the Freeman at bat. Kranick comes in, not his sharpest outing. He walks Freddie Freeman, even though, again, hard to blame him because there was already a 3-1 count. But I don't love the way things went after, where he hangs a slider to Will Smith, who made it 1-0, and then Teoscar Hernandez would end up making it 3-0 with a fastball going down the plate there, which made it 3-0. But Brett Baty in the bottom of the 3rd would respond with a solo shot to make it a 3-1 game. The Mets would end up cutting it down to 1 run as Pete Alonso had a sacrifice fly, which made it 3-2 to drive in Starling Marte in the 4th, which Marte was gunned out at the plate. But again, another weird thing that I've never seen in my life. They called interference there on Max Muncy, which to me, we'll get into more of that. But if I could tell you right now, and I said during the post game, you commented it. If it was the other way around, I would be pissed about that call. Either way, the Dodgers respond to it because Jose Budo, thanks to him getting the first 2 outs, walks Will Smith, gets ahead on Teoscar, hits him after being ahead on both hitters. He allows a single to Max Muncy, which made it 4-2. Pages gets a single, which makes it 5-2. Castillo has to come in to extinguish the fire here, gets Conforto to strike out. And as we fast forward, I mean, the Mets offense just looking anemic, but the bullpen for the Mets looking really good. We get to the bottom of the 9th inning, and the Mets, credit to them, they rally, which they've needed that. And you know what? I honestly thought they were going to win, considering they had that rally there. Marte gets a single, Soto flies out, Alonso walks, McNeil with a triple to make it 5-4. Taylor makes it 5-5. And then the most annoying thing is the Mets had traffic on the bases all the damn time, where in the 10th inning, Marte gets hit by a pitch. They fail to drive the run in. We go to the 11th inning, again, intentionally walking Taylor, and then Beatty walks. You have the bases loaded, and Luis Angel Cunha just can't hit a ball past the infield grass at all. We go to the 12th, and this is when I knew the Mets were losing the game because you had to score in this inning. Like, I knew right then and there you have to. They walk Lindor. Marte bunts, which brought up a little bit of questions there, which we'll get into that one later. Soto gets intentionally walked. Torrens grounds into a double play. Brosbach comes in, allows a double to Teoscar, which drove in a run. Pages ends up hitting into a sac fly double play, but it was 7-5 by the end of that. And then the Mets have no answer there. A long 13-inning game there. I'm out of breath just from talking about that. But in game number 2 now, it was Tony Gonsolin versus David Peterson. And the Dodgers would get on the board early as the results were not resulting early for results men. Pages gets a single. Edman gets hit by a pitch. Kike Hernandez would hit a single, which made it 1-0. Dalton Rushing makes it 2-0 on a ground out. Brett Beatty responds with an RBI single after Jared Young gets hit by a pitch and Taylor singles. Beatty would drive in a run to make it a 2-1 baseball game. Peterson got into allowed a couple of base runners every now and then, but worked out of it with a couple of double plays in David Peterson fashion. The bottom of the 4th inning, Torrens gets a single, and with 2 outs, Beatty walks, Lindor walks, Marte with a single, which made it 2-2. And then Juan Soto gets a big hit, which was so close to leaving the yard, made it a 4-2 game. Marte had to ruin the moment a little bit by getting gunned out at the plate. But either way, the Mets take a 4-2 lead. And then the 8th inning, they'd add an insurance run as Brett Beatty gets an RBI double to make it a 5-2 game. The Mets, unfortunately, would not drive in any more runners, but Edwin Diaz shuts the door, looking good as we go to the 3rd and final game. It was Senga versus Landon Knack. Ohtani gets a leadoff home run to make it a 1-0 game. There would be more traffic on the bases, so much so that there was a fly out from Will Smith. Taylor makes a nice grab, throws Mookie Betts out at the plate. They call him safe originally, which I said on my post-game show. I don't know how they messed up the call that bad, because watching on my TV while I'm cooking up some chicken in the kitchen, I saw that he was clearly out, and it was some good-ass chicken, by the way. But they end up gunning him out to make it to keep the game at 1-0. And again, Kodai Senga just works out of the jam that he got himself into. In the bottom of the 1st, remember, you got to credit Juan Soto for hustling out of the box because Pete Alonso destroys a pitch to make it 2-1. And as we go on throughout this game, Juan Soto hit into a force out, which ended up making it 3-1 after back-to-back singles from Lindor and Vientos. The Mets had traffic on the bases every now and then. You had Juan Soto, Rob Conforto at one point of extra base hits in this one. A beautiful double play turn as well throughout this game as Beatty and Lindor connect there for a nice double play. And yeah, Reed Garrett shuts the door there. And the Mets win the 3rd and final game. A lot of chaos throughout the series with certain calls, with certain fielding things that happen. There was a lot this series, so um, yeah, I don't know where you want to what you want to break down first. I mean, we could talk about just I guess the
Yeah, we could do.
heroics.
I mean, we could do the two calls really quickly because
We
I,
could
I
do that, yeah.
I
So
mean,
jump in with your thoughts because I already gave my thoughts pretty much here.
listen. For me, with the Mookie Betts one, with Soto and Tyrone Taylor colliding in the outfield. Listen, I didn't know that was the rule initially. So, listen, I don't have a problem with the rule, even though I think it's kind of dumb in a sense because I know they brought up the explanation of like, oh, like you could have the outfielder technically bobble the ball up and down until he gets to the infield to go tag out the runner, which I mean, okay, from a technical explanation, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But in reality, are you ever going to see that in a Major League Baseball game? No. So, but listen, at the end of the day, if it's the rule, fine. I didn't know it like I said at that time, but listen, whatever. The bigger problem was the second one with the so-called interference rule because listen, okay, fine. He technically blocks his view, I guess, Max Muncy. But like I said, if this was the other way around, I would have been pissed off because from especially from the camera point of view where they showed it behind Marte, it's like you could clearly see Teoscar. I mean, like I said, from his point of view, you could clearly see Teoscar Hernandez catch the ball. Like to me, there was no view of interference whatsoever. So, like I said, if this was the other way around and it's Soto gunning out Teoscar Hernandez at the plate, I would have been pissed just because, like I said, there was no, to me at least, there was no sign of interference. But listen, it is what it is. I'll take the call because it worked out in the Mets' favor. But like I said, if this was the other way around, I would have been pissed off.
Yeah, I agree with you on both stances. Like, especially with the whole idea of, oh, well, you could bobble the ball and then bring it to the infield. That would take a good amount of skill, honestly, to do that too. Like, if someone does that, I wouldn't even be mad at that point. I'd be impressed if they were able to bobble it in the air for that long and then bring it over to the infield to keep a runner from tagging. So, yeah, I mean, it somewhat makes sense, but very bizarre rule either way. Just a lot of chaotic stuff going on in terms of that. The rain, obviously, but I do want to talk about the heroics of two individuals. We'll start with Reed Garrett, talking about him a little bit more because I don't know if I ever brought this up, but he did change my life for the better, by the way. Uh, just getting 2 innings from him in that first game, and then getting him being available, which again, I'm still trying to question how they're utilizing the bullpen. There are certain things that I was wondering, and I brought up in the post game too with Stanek, how it's like I feel like you never see him sit down and then get up again. But just to talk again about Reed Garrett, a lot of encouraging signs. He is no longer half in the circle of trust. He is fully in the circle of trust. And like you said, I mean, the cutter, the splitter, generating the whiffs that he did yesterday, and then even in that first game, a lot of encouraging stuff from him.
Yeah, no, I think the one, and I brought it up before, but the biggest thing that was causing Reed Garrett his issues was he simply just didn't have command of any of his pitches really. And I mean, you know, when you look at the Savant page, not only was he getting the swing and miss stuff, but it's just the fact that he was pounding everything in the zone because the cutter. He threw it 80% in the zone, the sinker 50% in the zone, the sweeper 75% in the zone. So that's the big thing with Reed Garrett because we know he has nasty stuff. It's just whether he can have control over that, and the fact that, like I said, and especially with the first game of the series where he went 2 innings and didn't give up any runs, and then the fact that he went to it and closed out the last game of the series. The fact that that now he has command, he's throwing everything in the strike zone, he's generating the swing and miss stuff. I mean, it's like you said, he is no longer half in the circle of trust. Reed Garrett is fully back in the circle of trust, and that's a guy that the Mets need because Reed Garrett, along with Brazaban, he's been probably the Mets' best two relievers to start this season so far. So it's big to see that Garrett's back to the form that we saw him at the start of the year.
Yeah, especially because, like I brought up too in the post game yesterday, you need Reed Garrett to really cement himself back into that role because there's going to be times where you need Diaz to get 4-out saves, maybe even a 6-out save at one point, and he's not going to be available the next day. And you need Reed Garrett to be able to pick up the slack there because Stanek, you don't trust him anymore in that role. I certainly don't, at the very least. And it seems like the Mets barely trust him to begin with right now. And then outside of that, I mean, you could go to Brazaban, but he also is kind of like that multi-inning guy. So you need Reed Garrett really to get back in the form which he has shown at the very least over the past few days. But yeah, just like the stuff with the bullpen's very, very bizarre to me with the way that they are handling it. The one thing I will say, I have to give Carlos Mendoza some flowers here because he did the thing that I have ranted about on this podcast for the past year and now 2 months. Put your best reliever in against the team's best part of the order. And what did we see in game number 2? And can you believe it worked out? You saw Edwin Diaz come in to face the best part of the order and get 4 outs. A crazy concept to do it, but on top of Reed Garrett, you have Edwin Diaz now, who just looks completely locked in. Even though the velo's still a little bit up and down compared to what you'd like to see, ideally from him, he looks locked in. And you know what? The location enough is going to get him swing and misses, and it's going to get him by in these outings. But Mendoza, if you're listening to this, and I know that you are, you're probably not, but keep doing that with Diaz, please. Keep using him in that situation.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to bring it up. I was going to bring that up because we've killed Mendy a lot for his bullpen usage, and I mean overall, some of his baseball decisions have been questionable so far. But to be fair, and for the thing that you said, we got to give Mendy his flowers. He had a really good series this series in terms of decision making because, like I said, I love the fact that he pushed David Peterson to go out there and the fact that after he walked the 9-hitter, he goes out there, he strikes out Ohtani to make it 2 outs, and then you're like, okay, give it to Diaz, get Mookie Betts out, strikes him out on a beautiful fastball location, low in the zone, dots the corner, strikes him out looking. You love to see that, and then he goes out there, closes out that second game to tie up the series at 1. But then overall, I love the fact that and then in the finale of the series where especially after because you saw Senga pitch, he went 5 1/3. You then went to Ryan Stanek in the 6th. You then had Max Kranick go out there, and Kranick, by the way, was huge because he gave the Mets much needed 2 innings, and we kind of killed Kranick for the fact that he hasn't really been good in those multi-inning games where he's pitched more than 1 inning, but got to give him credit. He was very good in those 2 innings. Was helped out a little bit by the fact that Juan Soto made a very nice play at the wall on a deep fly ball hit by Conforto. And yes, he definitely did look a bit sad catching that ball out in right field, but it is what it is. And then then the fact that I the decision that I really liked, and I kind of texted in the group chat. I'm like, okay, who goes out and pitches the 9th inning? And we all want to Reed Garrett, but typically we've seen Mendy go the route of trying to be cute, and maybe he could have went to Budo in that situation, but thankfully he went to Reed Garrett, and Reed Garrett, he went out there quick 1 2 3 outs, closes out that game. And then also because I know there was some controversial things in the first game, specifically the first one was with pinch running Azekar in place of Pete Alonso in extra innings. Now, to me, I didn't have a problem with that just because, listen, it's extra innings. You have the Manfred guy on second base. You need speed out there. I didn't have a problem with pinch running Azekar there just because you expect that the Mets offense should be able to go out there and drive in the guy from second base, especially starting the inning with the guy on second with no outs. It didn't happen. It was unfortunate, and it was a little bit weird to see Luis Torrens go out there and play first base. But I mean, to be fair, he wasn't challenged at all, so it is what it is. And then like the fact that you mentioned when you go to the bottom of the 12th and you then have Acuna starting the inning at second base, they intentionally walk Lindor, and I didn't have a problem personally, like you said, with the with sacrificing Starling Marte with the bunt because it was a nice bunt. You get the second and third, and pretty much all you need there is just hit the ball deep into the outfield, and a sacrifice fly wins you the game. And then, especially after they intentionally walk Juan Soto to load up the bases, it's like I said, all you need is a deep fly ball to the outfield to win you a game. But Luis Torrens comes up and grounds into it in the end of double play. And like you mentioned, that was pretty much the part where I'm like, yeah, they're probably going to lose this game. So I know there was some controversial decisions from Mendy, but like I said, for me, those two, I didn't have a problem with it. I agreed with him there. But like I said, overall, I thought Mendy had a very good series.
I don't know why we're talking about this when Juan Soto looked depressed catching that fly ball, though. I don't know why we're wasting our time talking about the bullpen managerial decisions when Juan Soto, I mean, he just looked so sad out there catching that fly ball. And if you can't tell that we're being sarcastic here, I just want to let you know that we're being sarcastic. Either way, though, yeah, I mean, like I can't fault him with the Torrens thing too, because it's like, worst case, you probably expect him to strike out there or maybe hit a fly ball that's not deep enough. And then it gives Jeff McNeil another chance, who had the triple, to rally them around. You give him a chance to maybe put the ball in play and see what happens there. I don't know. And then there was an argument that I saw people bringing up that maybe Acuna should have bunted in one of the spots, which I didn't agree with that, because I think that I'm trying to find the spot that it was. It might have been, what was it, his first at bat? Yeah, I
Well,
think the ninth.
well, but I mean, the ninth inning, that made no sense because there was already 2 outs on that play. So,
I'm trying to
I get.
remember when it was.
So
I don't know.
I guess you could put on a suicide squeeze, and I guess you trust that Acuna could maybe leg out a base at the first base is driving a run. But I mean, with 2 outs during the ninth inning, that made no sense to bunt there for me.
Yeah, that's one I didn't agree with either. I just brought it up because I saw that take going around online. To me, it's more just like, in general, win the game in the 10th, the 11th, or the 12th when you had multiple opportunities to do it, and you couldn't get it done. To me, that's really what it comes down to more than anything else. So yeah, wait, I see the comments about Hauser. We'll get to the White Sox series where we're gonna say the Andrew line. Don't worry. But yeah, honestly, with the series in general, I think the biggest flowers that need to be given out here is to David Peterson. David Peterson definitely deserves a lot of credit because, like you mentioned early on, the bullpen gets used heavily in that last game, or in game number 1, rather. And David Peterson, the thing that I was scared of is, okay, we're going to get the classic 5 1/3 from him, right? Especially when we need volume. And credit to him. And he's someone that, we obviously mock a bit for being a ground ball pitcher. Credit to him, though. Credit to him for the way that he went out there, gave 7 innings, 7 2/3. Could have maybe gave 8 innings. Unfortunately, though, lost the last batter there. But 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, 2 earned runs, 5 hits, generating those double plays as he usually does. And the biggest thing that I like, though, from him is that he was generating a lot of swing and miss stuff with a slider, which we don't see him generate swing and miss stuff often, but it's nice when we do. And for him to put Ohtani down 4 times, and for him to go into the post game and say he's just another hitter, show off, just hang your nuts on the table, man. Hang your nuts on the damn table. And he's probably going to see them again in that 4-game series. I don't know how the starting pitching rotation lines up. So hopefully it's not going to bite him in the ass, him saying that. But yeah, he gets all the credit because it helped them win, help put them in a spot rather to win game number 3 as well, because you didn't have to use a guy like Stanek in that game. You didn't have to use Kranick or Garrett in that game and force your bullpen that's already taxed to really go in there. Maybe Waddell, who was called up, you maybe would have needed him. Thankfully, Peterson helped out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, back to the part where you said like how it's going to line up in LA, because I was listening to Evan Roberts' Rico Broni yesterday, and he said that right now how it's lined up when they go to that 4-game set in LA, it's going to be I think he said it's going to be Canning, McGill, and Peterson, and then they're probably going to have to call up someone to spot start for that finale of that
That might be
series, or
Blackburn's return.
yeah, or it could be Blackburn's return. So not the most sexiest names, especially going to LA and pitching against that lineup. So I mean, I guess we'll just see how that works out. But I mean, just going back to David Peterson and that start, I mean, like I mentioned, like he was the MVP of the series because, like I said, after the bullpen was decimated in game one, you needed him to go out there and just give you innings. And like I said, it didn't even need to be the most quality innings. You just had to go out there and get length from him. And the fact that, like I said, he gave you 7 2/3 innings with only 2 runs given up. I mean, that was big to see from David Pearson. And like you mentioned, the fact that he generated a ton of swing and miss stuff on his slider. I mean, 12 swing and 8 whiffs. 73% swing rate on that slider. So that's nice to see. And then the fact with the sinker, he was just pounding the zone with the sinker because again, he got 17 swings, 2 whiffs on that sinker, and then through the sinker, 57% in the strike zone. So it was just nice to see him go out there, throw strikes, generate swings and misses on the secondary stuff, and then also with the fact that, like, listen, we kind of get on Peterson, like you said, for him being a ground ball pitcher, but listen, the ground ball, especially with the double plays, and that's something we've killed the Mets, especially this year with their defense. Their defense was pretty good in that second game because they were challenged a lot, especially because they had to turn a ton of double plays and a ton of just like ground ball outs, and they were able to do it. And listen, wow, what a shock! David Peterson's on the mound. You put Brett Beatty at third base instead of Mark Vientos. Who would have thought? I mean, and that's another thing we'll talk about with Vientos' defense. But I mean, yeah, listen, the Mets defense in that second game was very good because, like I said, they were challenged a lot. But yeah, quality stuff from David Peterson, and then like we talked about, you hand the ball over to Edwin Diaz for that 4-out save, and he goes out there and he gets you that save. So yeah, I mean, just excellent stuff all around from David Peterson.
Yeah, I mean, we'll shift right to the Vientos thing just because it was so brutal. Just like your first game back at third base, the ball goes right through the glove. I mean, he's making mistakes that little leaguers do not make. And if you did, I mean, you would not be playing in little league. Like you would be on the bench the next game, or you'd have to at least be at practice, or you're going to be on the bench if you're not practicing the next time. Either way, though, I tried to hold out to like some optimism here with Vientos. I want to see more leeway with him in the 2-hole. I know for certain he cannot be in the field anymore. Like he has to be the DH. I'm sorry. He has to be. He's just terrible in the field. At most, you play him at first base and then you DH Alonso, maybe on a day. But I do not want to see Mark Vientos playing third base for quite a bit now. And I can tell you right now, if the bat does not pick up with him being in the 2-hole, there's going to be questions about if he's even going to be here beyond the trade deadline, at the very least on the major league roster, because he's not providing anything right now. He's not. Like, I'm sorry. And this is coming from someone that likes Mark Vientos, believed in Mark Vientos when a lot of people wrote him off. But I'm not seeing it. I'm not. It's beyond the defense and the little league errors. It's the bat too. It just, in his last 7, in 20 at bats, no home runs, 1 RBI, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, a 150 average, 280 on base, 200 slugging for an OPS of 480. I don't know. I really don't know what to say and what you could even do, because when it looked like there was maybe signs of improvement there, he's just not fully breaking through. And that's what's annoying, because in the middle of April, he started to like really get on a little bit of a heater and really get going. Now it's just back to the garbage that we saw at the beginning of the season. And I don't know. I have a lot of concerns.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, the main thing, like you said, he cannot play third base anymore. I mean, that's That's clear. I mean, even with the error he made yesterday, because listen, I get that was Mookie Betts was running to first base, so even if he doesn't field the ball cleanly, there isn't a guarantee that he throws out Mookie Betts just because he is a quick runner, but still, you gotta field that ball cleanly at the minimum. And the fact that he lets that ball go under his glove, I mean, that's terrible. I mean, like I said, it's a little league error, and from now on, Brett Beatty should be the guy that gets the playing time at third base for the most part. And even when the days that Brett Beatty needs to rest, because obviously like he's not going to play every game. Like there's going to be some days where he needs his rest days. But even then, when those days come up, play either Acuna at third base or play either McNeil at third base. And listen, I get maybe that those guys aren't the greatest at third base either. But you know what? I trust them a hell of a lot more at third base than I do Mark Vientos. So
They named Mauricio.
yeah, and then eventually when Mauricio is ready to come up, and he's killing it really good right now in AAA. So eventually when the Mets deem that he's fit enough and healthy enough to come up and play at the major league level, he should just come up there and split time there with Beatty, or DH Mauricio and Beatty play second. I don't know, but all for now, just Vientos cannot play at third base, and like we were saying, just play Beatty at third base, DH Vientos, and maybe just maybe, and especially now with the schedule lightening up and the fact that you're playing lesser competition in the White Sox and the Rockies, who don't have the greatest pitching staffs. Maybe now with the fact that you DH Vientos, he comes up against lesser opponents, and he doesn't have to worry about the defense side of the defensive side of the ball. Maybe he could just focus on DHing and just hitting the ball, and maybe we'll start to see his confidence rise up. Maybe we'll start to see the power come back a little bit, and the contact go up. Because I mean, as you said right now, like the fact that that he's not hitting right now, it's a bit concerning. But like I said, hopefully with him now just being a full-time DH, he could just fully focus on just hitting and not worrying about the offense side of the ball. And maybe that mental side of the game, just improves for him. And we start to see the Vientos that we saw last year. But yeah, I mean, his play has to pick up because, like you said, with Mauricio now basically knocking on the door, and with the trade deadline just being 2 months away, like there's a very good there's a very good possibility that Vientos is maybe not on this roster, come the trade deadline. So we'll see what happens. I still have hope and faith that he turns his play around. But like I said, the clock's ticking, time's ticking. Like he needs to start showing improvements now. And especially with now, like I said, you're coming up against lesser pitching staffs and lesser teams. You got to take advantage and start. And we need to start to see the bat coming around right now.
Yeah. Right now, when this team gets Mauricio back, Beatty's playing every day at third base. For me, this is what I'm saying. Beatty's got to play every day at third base. Mauricio's got to play every day at second base. Center field, that's where McNeil could get his time, I guess, when Taylor's not going to play. And Vientos has to be your DH. It can't be this way. And I don't like him sitting today. I don't. You're going against Adrian Hauser and the White Sox. If Vientos isn't going to play every day, you already have your decision then. I don't want to get to the preview too early here, but the fact that they're prioritizing Jared Young playing DHing and batting fifth, which is ridiculous to me. Why are you not using this as an opportunity to get Mark Vientos right, playing against these bad teams? To me, it's like if you envision him being the long-term answer or being an answer for this team going forward, these are the teams you would play him against. You wouldn't sit him here. Why is he not playing? To me, that makes no sense. Like, this is the opportunity. Because is Jared Young the answer? No. He's not going to be here in a couple months once Siri comes back, once Winker comes back, once Mauricio's ready to go. To me, it's like maybe they do have their answer with Vientos because he would be playing today. And I'm not saying that they need to send him down right now, but he does need the DH every day. He needs a DH, and they have to play him every day against the White Sox and the Rockies to get him right. Because what is sitting going to do for him in this series? What good is that doing? It's not helping him. It's not helping the team long term because again, Jared Young's not going to be on this roster in a month or two. So why are you not playing Vientos now? To me, it seems like they might have their answer there with if he's going to be on this roster going forward.
Yeah, I
Maybe I'm
mean,
reaching with that. Maybe I'm overthinking that. But to me, if you envision him being on the roster, on your October roster, you would want him playing right now to get him right and get him going back on a heater.
yeah, I mean, like I said, for me, he would be in the lineup today. I mean, I saw the pregame coach that Mendy did before the game, and he was basically saying because I mean they're starting Jared Young for the third straight game at DH, which to me makes no sense because he should not be in the lineup. At most, you put him on the bench if you need to pinch hit him late. Fine, that's cool. I get that, but I mean, because like I said, I was listening to the pregame coach, and Mendy said that basically like he wanted the lefties in there, but I mean you're facing Adrian Hauser. Like it shouldn't matter lefty righty. Like
Too
Vientos
much of
should
that.
Vientos should be in there against Adrian Hauser. It just to me that makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Too much of the lefty right. They overthink this lefty righty thing too much. Put the guys that are playing the best in the lineup. We just saw Brett Beatty go in there against Garrett Crochet and have a good game. You're telling me Mark Vientos can't go in there and hit off of Adrian Hauser, the same guy that I watched hit a grand slam in the postseason last year,
Off Matt
the same
Strom.
guy that went in, what?
Well, he
What
hit
was
the
that?
home run off Matt Strom.
Well, no, I was just saying the grand slam in the
Oh yeah,
NLCS
yeah,
against Landon Knack, and then you have the home run against Strom. I'm pretty sure there was another home run too that I'm forgetting
yeah.
against a right-handed
He
pitcher.
hit he hit 2 home runs in game 2.
Yeah, that's right. And that was against that was Sanchez actually, I think, right?
Sanchez, yeah.
Or maybe it was a righty out of the pen. I don't remember. But either way, this is the same guy that I saw in the playoffs last year hitting home runs against right-handed pitchers. This is the same guy that I saw down the stretch last year. They trusted him so much that he was at third base every day, no matter what arm the pitcher throws out of. Now all of a sudden that matters. That I'm sorry, but if that's their thought process behind this, he cannot be on the roster beyond um beyond the deadline. He can't be. And I'm with you, Max. Like I can't stand the lefty righty thing. I just cannot. And until Winker comes back, Winker's also a platoon guy. You got too much of this platoon stuff. It's
Alright.
ridiculous. And thank you, Sports Rush, for tuning in. We also preface at the start how we're addressing the comments here, but appreciate you. You were saying though,
No, yeah, the lefty righty thing it makes no sense, and like I brought up, like you're facing Adrian Hauser, like it just doesn't make any sense. Like if Vientos is that player that we saw last year and the player that we believe he is, then I'm sorry, like I at least for me, I fully trust him to go out there against Adrian Hauser and give you and to give the team quality at bats and to hit the ball hard and to hit the ball in the air and to drive in runs and hit and get extra base hits. So again, it makes no sense why Jared Young is in the lineup and batting fifth today. That just Vientos should be out there DHing to try to get his head right and to improve his confidence. So it makes no sense why he's sitting.
yeah, I don't get it. I mean, I guess we could just jump into the preview here of the White Sox series, just because we pretty much tackled everything with the Dodgers series, and we wanted to make this a little bit quicker of an episode. Busy day, but yeah, the Mets play one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball. They play the two worst teams coming up in a row here. So for game one, Clay Holmes versus the consistently mentioned Adrian Hauser. You have Shane Smith versus Tyler McGill in game number 2. And then game number 3, it is Sean Burke versus Griffin Canning. And like the comments are saying, even though apparently we don't read them, light up Hauser. Hauser, you got to put up 5+ runs. Agree there. Don't take them for granted. All I'll say is win 3 out of 3. Anything less is inexcusable. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear, oh, but given the circumstances, no, sweep them. Anything less is a complete and utter disaster.
No, you got to go. You got to go out there and you got to show that you're the better team. You got to light them up. Basically, that's the best thing I could tell you. You just got to go out there and light them up. So, but listen, no, listen, they have the pitching matchup in every single game. Obviously, you like you said, you have Holmes in the first game, you have McGill in the second game, and then you have Griffin Canning in that third game. I mean, we have to see even if that third game is going to get played because there is supposedly rain that's going to be that might affect that third game. So we'll see even if that third game is played. But if all 3 games would get played, you got to sweep them, and not only you got to sweep them, you got to win convincingly. I don't want to see like a Pirates type series where you take 2 out of 3, but the 2 wins that you get, they're like you barely squeeze out wins. No, win convincingly. Show them that you are the better team. I want to see games where they win by 5 runs, where they win by 6 runs. Like I don't want to see these close 1-2 run games. No, you're the better team. You got the better lineup. You got the better pitching staff. Show who you are, and please drive in runners when they're in scoring position. That's all I ask of you. Because I mean, you're going into a lineup where their best OPS hitter is Miguel Vargas at a 734 OPS, and that's not even a good OPS. Because I mean, you have Luis Robert struggling right now at a 588 OPS. So there is no excuse. Go out there and sweep them and win convincingly. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Go beat those future Spirit Halloween employees, as Andrew would say. Go beat the future Spirit Halloween employees. So yeah, I mean, unless you have anything else to add, I think that we pretty much got everything covered. They got to destroy the White Sox. They beat the Dodgers. Yeah, I think that's really all we have to discuss here, though. Unless you have anything else that you think I forgot to bring up.
Nah, we covered pretty much everything. So yeah, we'll see. Obviously today 4:10 start, which is weird, but I guess it's Memorial Day weekend. So I guess with the 4:10 start, I'll just have to listen to the game on the radio while I'm at work. But listen, I guess I got to do things that way. So it is what it is. But hopefully they go out there and they win tonight.
Yeah, I don't mess with the 4:10 start time. I don't like it. But either way, that is going to be it for us. Thank you everyone for tuning in and watching. I hope you like the graphics. We'll have more graphics coming along the way. I just couldn't get them set up in time. A little bit of a crunched weekend for the next episode, though. We will definitely have more of the new in-depth graphics that you guys will get to see. But thank you everyone for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Turn on your notifications so you know when we upload or go live. And we'll see you guys in the next one.